Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. So a very quick replacement of my stock oil dipstick. I've done away with my homemade oil temperature dipstick, which actually worked really well. The second attempt with a 9-inch probe, and that was running at about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, my oil temperature, which I still think is a bit hot, but there we go. It's 200 degrees Fahrenheit, running steady, constant. But now I've got this, and it's a Pozoma. It's the same length as a stock oil dipstick. The only thing is it hasn't got the guide, you know, for how much oil you need to add or whatever. So you kind of have to do that by eye. I sort of know what the length is or what the marking is. But if I'm ever in doubt, I could always just use this, of course, and just get a quick reading, and away I go. But there we go. That's the Pozoma oil temperature dipstick from all your favorite places. eBay, I'm not sure Amazon got it, but AliExpress, those kind of places, they're all over really. Right, so the bike needs a wash, as you can tell. I mean, look at that. It's yeah, pretty horrendous really. But before I do that, I thought I'd just quickly raise an issue with you. Well, not an issue, but I thought I just wanted to gauge what people thought about it. I'm kind of looking at different bikes at the moment, and also looking at different options, whether to upstage this or whether just to do away with this bike and maybe upgrade to another Harley Davidson, or actually just go to another bike entirely. Now, I suppose if I went to another brand of bike, that could be the death of the channel, I suppose. But I've always said that my channel isn't a Harley Davidson channel. It's just that I talk about it a lot. I'll talk about my bike because I ride a Harley Davidson. But it's about all sorts of bikes, all sorts of different things, motorcycle related. And my website, which is now officially recognised as a motorcycle news website, that's where it is. I do tend to focus on Harley Davidson, Indian, BMW and Triumph, because those, I suppose, are my favoured brands over the last few years. But anyway, so, you know, I am looking at other bikes, and I have kind of been looking at BMWs for a couple of years, I've got to say. I really do like them, and also Triumphs, I do like those as well. Indians as well, so as I say, they are my 4 favourite brands right now. Would I go for a Japanese brand? Possibly. It really depends. But it's noticeable, really noticeable, when you go on another bike, especially something like a BMW or Triumph, and it's not so much how it's running, which is obvious because you're not getting that V-twin sound or the V-twin feeling or the rumble. But where I really notice it is the smoothness of the controls and the smoothness of how it's riding as well. I just rode like a BMW recently, and again, it was just night and day the way the bikes run. But the number one thing that you notice when you ride a non-Harley Davidson bike, for me anyway, is the clutch. The clutch, how free and easy clutch control is, and clutch use is on other bikes, whereas these are really heavy-handed. And, you know, that's when you start looking at the way they're riding, the way they're sounding, and all that kind of stuff. And also the technology as well on the other bikes, or any other bikes. Not all, of course, but on other bikes. And you think, wow. So let's say, I don't think there's a comparable bike for a cruiser out there, apart from Indian, let's say. Maybe sort of Triumph, you know, have done a good job as well. But when you go up to the Tourers, well, there's a lot of choice out there. There's a lot of choice from, obviously you've got Harley Davidson, you've got the Indians, but then you've got Honda Goldwing, you've got the sports Tourers, if you want that, the NT1100s, let's say, the VFRs of old. Then you get into the Kawasaki, the Versys. You can go the Vulcan as well, if you really want, the Vulcan S, I should say, from Kawasaki. The V-Strom from Suzuki, you know, the Tenere, if you want that kind of adventure touring type of bike. That's for the Tenere from Yamaha, of course. But then you go for the BMW, obviously they've got the big adventure bikes, but then they've got the big Tourers as well. So Honda have got the Goldwing, then you've got the K1600s, either the GT, GTL or the B from BMW, which is like the bagger type, and you've got the Grand America, which is the bagger with a top box as well, or you've got the R1250 RT, which I think is just possibly all around the best touring bike out there. Now, I could be proven wrong, but if it's just a tourer and not any off-road capability at all, you know, they're kind of night and day when you put these two together. So the question would be, I suppose, would you ever consider moving away from Harley Davidson, you know, for a much better quality bike? But you would sacrifice a feeling or that camaraderie you might get, or you might think you get with Harley Davidson ownership, you know, whether you're in a hog group and that kind of thing. But just that personality of riding a Harley Davidson, or that feeling, you know, that kind of the rawness feeling. Because I think I would, although I know the bike would be better, I think I would miss this. I would miss that feeling of owning and riding a Harley Davidson. What do you think? You see, Harley Davidsons, they do come in for a lot of criticism from those who don't ride them, okay? There's a lot of piss taking, people think they're agricultural, all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot of truths in that. There's also a lot of criticism from within, not only of the bikes, but also of the company and the way things are run at dealerships and all that sort of stuff. The bad ones, and, you know, people tend to ignore the good stuff, but they kind of focus on the bad stuff as well. And there's a lot of truth in there. There's a lot of arguments there that hold water as well. But for all the criticisms of the bikes, let's say, there is something there that other manufacturers don't have. Now, you could say that's a good thing. The critics would say that's a good thing. But there is something there, you know, it's something there. The bikes aren't complete. So it's up to you as owners to put your spin on it to make them complete, or to make them run the way you want them to run. And there's a lot to be said for that. There's a lot of fun in working on your own bikes, or finding little problems and trying to figure it out, and reaching out to the Harley Davidson community, as it were, to either look for answers or try and provide answers as well, or solutions or alternatives as well. You know, there's a whole industry out there for alternatives for Harley Davidsons, you know, what you can do with it. Whereas other manufacturers, there isn't, or certainly not to the same degree. So there's a big thing about owning a Harley Davidson in terms of just the ownership, and also just the camaraderie, you know, that you might have, but also about just working on the bikes, or trying to fix them and improve them, and that kind of thing. There's a lot to be said for that, which you don't do on other bikes, not nearly as much anyway. And possibly because you don't need to, because other bikes are just better. They're just better engineered, they're just better bikes all around. But then it comes to the riding sensation, that riding sensation of riding this V-twin, with the rumbles, with the vibrations, with the noise, with the smells, all that kind of stuff. And then you get onto a brand new bike from another manufacturer, let's say BMW or Triumph or Indian, liquid cooled engines, let's say, and it's just not the same. It's just not the same. And it's that kind of feeling that I would miss. I really would. And so that would be the biggest question. It's not about going to a better bike, because I know the other bikes will be better in terms of technology, in terms of ride, but it's just the feeling. And I just want to know if I'm way off base, or do you agree? Is it the feeling that's the most important thing? Now, lots of people talk about the Harley Davidson soul, the whole, you know, it's got soul and you feel it. And I kind of believe that as well. I kind of feel that as well. I'm not so pretentious, let's say, oh, it's soul and everything, but it's definitely something that it gives you that raw feeling of riding one, or something like this, or like an older bike, let's say, that you don't get with modern bikes or modern technology on bikes. Let us know your thoughts. I just thought I'd let you know. I'm not going to show you me washing my bike, of course, but I'm going to take this out for a spin afterwards and see what the temperature is as well, and obviously just get a bit more of that Harley Davidson feeling. But so I've always enjoyed riding other bikes. I always enjoy riding bikes with loads of tech on them and how smooth they can be. But no matter how good they are, they have to do something really spectacular for me to even think about coming away from this, I think. But, you know, it could be that I still do it. It could be that I find that one spectacular bike that suits my riding needs at that time, and I think, you know, I'll move away from Harley Davidson. Let us know your thoughts, whether you'd ever move away from Harley Davidson, whether you'd ever go to Harley Davidson from another brand as well, and what is it about riding them and owning one that you really like, and is it the riding aspect? Is it the kind of things that you need to work on the bikes? Or is it that you've bought into the whole Harley Davidson ownership thing, you're a big fan, and there's nothing wrong with that, and that's it, you're Harleys for life? Let us know, and I'll catch you again in another video coming very soon. Ta-da.